And Pope Francis received 50,000 altar servers at a special audience in St. Peter's Square on Tuesday. He celebrated the role servers play in the Catholic liturgy all over the world. Joining me now is a parish priest from South Carolina, whose parish has a very successful program training boys to serve at the altar while still involving girls in parish life. Please welcome Father Jeff Kirby to the program. Father, thanks for being here. As I mentioned, you can see the Pope met with thousands of altar servers, boys and girls, encouraging them to share Jesus with others. What did you make of that meeting?
Yeah, so when I first saw the news report, I thought the immediate thought was missed opportunity, in the sense of it is very good that boys and girls both want to serve God and be involved in the life of the church. Wonderful. But should boys and girls both be serving at the altar? And I would say no. Everyone has a place in terms of service in the church, but the place of the altar really needs to be a place where boys and young men are introduced to the priesthood, introduced to the liturgy, and a certain vocational discernment can begin.
Father Kirby, I want to start with a bit of recent history. The Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments issued a letter in 1994. I remember when this was released, permitting the use of altar girls in addition to altar boys. The practice of having altar girls has now become, or had already become, widespread. Though not initiated by the Vatican, that 1994 letter merely permitted what was already practiced at the time, while still expressing a preference for the tradition of altar boys. Here's the quote. The Holy See wishes to recall that it will always be very appropriate to follow the noble tradition of having boys serve at the altar. As is well known, this has led to a reassuring development of priestly vocations. Thus, the obligation to support such groups of altar boys will always continue. Father, I guess the question is a practical one. The use of altar girls was left up to the discretion of local bishops and pastors. You've been a priest for over 17 years. You've served as a diocesan vocations director. How vital are altar boys for vocations to the priesthood? What's the connection?
Very vital, essential. In fact, when we look at pew research of the newly ordained, over 80% of the newly ordained indicate that they first felt the call to the priesthood while serving Mass, while assisting at the altar. And so while we can definitely look and say, yes, there's a place for everyone in the service to serve in the life of the church, the place of the altar, like we have to realize that this really is the essential place, the pivotal place, the vital place where young men can begin to be introduced to the priesthood. And again, that vocational discernment can start. So I would highlight and emphasize to other pastors, to my brother priests, how important it is that a program be nurtured and developed where young men, boys can serve at the altar.
Yeah, let's talk about the program in your parish. It's kind of revolutionary. Our Lady of Grace in South Carolina, you use only male altar servers. Let's start there. Why?
Yes, well, because, first of all, it's a great way for young men to understand the call to worship, within, their own selves as young men, also to be introduced to the priesthood. And really just, as I look, as you mentioned, I used to be a vocations director. I think a lot of portions of the church, leaderships in the church at times can forget that we're really in a pretty severe, crisis in terms of priestly vocations. And so, when I was named pastor, I thought we need to do our best as a parish, one part of the universal church to really nurture and provide an environment where priestly vocations.
Father, I want to get into your program, though, because you not only train them to be altar boys, there's a Master of Ceremonies altar boy program where the young men, they're really mentored. Tell me what the program entails and what kind of training is provided.
Yeah, so the younger boys are trained by the older young men. So, we have, fourth grade and up. And so any boy in the parish can sign up. And then we have Masters of Ceremonies. Those tend to be high schoolers. And they're the ones who train the younger ones and kind of keep the younger ones in place and assist them during sacred liturgy. The MCs I meet with every month in a group that we call the Kolbe Group, named after St. Maximilian Kolbe. And I work with them in terms of, their skills and training. So how to assist with the Roman Missal, how to, use incense, funerals, and then, of course, basic leadership skills as they guide the younger boys. So very much the MCs feel a strong sense of ownership in terms of their role. The young boys look up to them. They look forward to when they can be MCs. And the young men really play an essential role at the altar. Like after I train them and have confidence in them, I let them, truly be active and involved at the altar.
Yeah, well, what's the difference? Because look, I've seen parishes ripped apart by this and have major civil wars when the pastor announces, we're only going to have male altar servers again. We're not having the girls here on the altar. What has been the reaction of your parishioners? And you do have a place for the girls to participate in parish life.
Yes, I think that that's something that very much has to be given a lot of attention when a pastor wants to introduce male-only servers. In terms of what's the outreach, where's the opportunity for service for the girls and young women of the parish. So when we started the program here, the first thing I did was start our St. Cecilia Girls Choir, which has become very popular in this area. So I started a girls choir as well as junior sacristans. So young women who want to assist to prepare or clean up after the sacred liturgy, so they can also be involved in some capacity. So I started these programs before I made any changes. So the parents could very clearly see that there's an opportunity for the girls, for the young women, for their daughters to be involved in the life of the church.
Here's my question. I know when they had altar girls and altar boys, I know from my own nephews and friends' children, the boys were reluctant to join because they feel it's kind of a feminine occupation.
That's right.
Separating, the genders here, has that helped?
It does. It does. In fact, we have a thriving program. We have, many high schoolers who serve. That's always surprises people because, normally the boys tend to fade away as they get older, but we have a lot of high schoolers who serve. In fact, next year we're sending 8 young men on a seminary visit. So we have a thriving program. It's successful. The boys look up to the young men. The young men feel a place of ownership and leadership. And so it's a thriving program. And I pray that, that eventually this will lead to, strong Christian disciples, great husbands and fathers, but also, please God, a few priests from this batch.
Father, given that you have so many young families who love tradition in your parish, what are your thoughts on what we're seeing vis-a-vis the traditional Latin Mass and Rome tightening restrictions on it? It seems to target the young traditional Catholics that are coming to your parish.
Yes, I scratch my head and try to understand what leadership is doing because, in my opinion, it's picking the wrong fight with the wrong group. It's our young families that are our future. They're dynamic. They love the tradition. They want to be involved in the tradition. It helps them to feel an identity, to draw closer to God. And so as I see, the various maneuvers that are being done by Rome, and I do not understand it from the grassroots looking up. I do not understand it because it seems as if it's hurtful to the life of the church, and so I cannot understand that, and especially when we look at so many areas of the church that really do need attention. Like, let's just talk about Germany, right? So 35,000 of those 50,000 young people at the international gathering of altar servers were from Germany. We can ask, and we just look at the audience that they had and the music and the dancing and the various things that they were doing. It's like, this is not consistent with our Catholic tradition. It's not forming strong, intentional disciples for the church.
Well, Father, I hope someone's listening. You saw that synodal poll that the Vatican put up last week, and they said, whether you support the synodal way or not. And of course, it was overwhelmingly people did not feel the church was listening to them and did not like it, so they took the poll down. Well, I guess that's one way of listening to the flock. We'll leave it there, Father. To follow the work and ministry of Father Jeff Kirby, you can go to his website, fatherkirby.com. Thank you, Father.
God bless you.